Press.
Hello and welcome to the Charles Cook Podcast. The focus of this podcast is local and state issues here in the state of Tennessee. You can follow my podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, TuneIn, and Alexa. Just search for Charles Cook Podcast. You can also follow me on Rumble at Charles Cook 52. And just like and subscribe on any of those platforms, and you'll get notified when I upload new content. The best place to find those platforms is on my podcast webpage at charlescookpodcast.buzzsprout.com. And you can also email me at charlescookpodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to maybe join me on one of my podcasts, or I got an idea for one of my podcasts. So anyway, today my topic is on what our local governments are doing in the state of Tennessee. And it's happening here in my home county and even in my own city. And it seems to be happening more and more in the city governments, but the county is taking it up as well. So kind of fill you in on that. Back in December, when they try to do a lot of the stuff, they try to take advantage of the holiday season. And while people's busy with the holidays, they tend to try to sneak things in, just like the federal government does. That's kind of how we ended up with the Federal Reserve, was sneaking things through. So with that, so all this started coming about back in December the 6th. The city council had a work session, and they decided that they were going to kind of start restricting what could be said at city council meetings. And of course, all that was denied. We're not trying to restrict nothing. We're not trying to do this and that. We're just trying to whatever, with politicians, if you give them enough time to talk, they'll actually tell you what they're up to. And because they love to hear themselves talk, and they'll eventually get around to telling you what they're doing. So when I found out that they were trying to control what is said in city council meetings and take away your ability to go talk about issues going on in your community or the community here, I decided to send them an email. And what I was told and what we found out was that if they were going to restrict what could be said at the Morristown City Council meeting that start at 5 p.m. and you would only be able to speak on items on the agenda only. So if anything else was going on and it wasn't on the agenda, you were not going to be able to speak about it at the city council meeting, which starts at 5 p.m. So when I found out about that, it really got under my skin, and that is not what we elected people to do. They're there to represent us. So I took it up on myself and to send them an email, and I also sent a similar one, just about the same thing, to the county commission, because they're working at it too, but I think we may be able to keep the bulk of that from happening. But so I sent this email to the city council members. Says, "Dear council members, I'm sending you this email about efforts being made by some council members to reduce the speaking times of the citizens of Morristown at the city council meetings. Let me remind you that you ran for the seat that you sit in as a representative of the city residents. You went out and campaigned and asked the people for their votes. Now some of on the city council are trying to reduce the time that those same citizens have to address their concerns to you at the city council. Please let me be clear. If you don't want to listen to the citizens, or you don't want to deal with the citizens, you should resign your position on the city council. Remember, you asked to be in that position you're in. You need to suck it up and put on your big boy or big girl pants. Stop trying to be little tyrants. And remember, you work for the people of Morristown. You do not rule over them. You represent them at the city council. You are their voice. It's just that simple. Now, for those of you who that vote to support reducing the speaking times, you can expect me to cause you as much political pain as possible. The voters in the city will know what you did to reduce their times to address you with their concerns. Those of you that know me and know that I have the means and the ability to do it, from social media ads to mailers in the voters' mailboxes. So some friendly advice: you need to kill this message. You need to kill this change now, or you need to vote no. Remember, 4 council members are up for re-election next May. Thank you for your time. Well, I had 2 council members reply back to me. Tommy Pettigo, and his was, "Thank you for your position about the city council." And that was it. And then there was Mayor Gary Chesney, who replied back to me. And he says, "Charles, the city council is not eliminating any public comments. We're simply moving one of the 3 speaking opportunities. Uh, the one we're moving has nothing to do with agenda items, and we will be made available on a bigger stage just prior to the beginning of the regular meeting." By bigger stage, I mean more time will be allotted for comments from the public. Our regular agenda will continue to have 2 other opportunities to speak to council members about agenda items. I think if you did your own research, now listen to this. Listen to the mayor of Morristown. We're going to get into this. I think if you did your own research into the facts, instead of allowing yourself to be manipulated by angrier, meaner individuals, you would have a more accurate picture of how our elected city leaders conduct business. We will also continue, as well as listen to those who have concerns, but we will also continue to resist those who try to bully our council into making poor decisions. Thank you for reaching out. Gary Chesney, Mayor. Okay. So, as I said, people will tell you what they're up to if you let them talk long enough. And you just heard it right there, talking about meaner, angry individuals. So I sent that to them on December the 19th. And on January the 3rd, they went ahead and voted. The city council voted 4-3 to move the non-agenda public comments to the work session prior to the city council meeting. So let's be clear here. At the work session, there is no quorum that has to be made. So there could be one person show up, the city administrator, the mayor, whatever. The city council members do not have to be there for that. They have to have so many at the city council meeting that starts at 5 p.m. to have a quorum. So they voted 4-3 to move the non-agenda items to the work session, which means if you want to speak, most of us work during the day, you have to be there before 4 o'clock to be able to speak at the work session when the city council meeting starts at 5, and that's hard enough for people to get there on time. So those voting for that was, of course, the mayor, Gary Chesney, and Tommy Pettigo. I also want to make sure that people understand that Tommy Pettigo was also the former chair of the Hamilton County Republican Party. So just keep that in mind. You got a Republican here that's the supposed to be a Republican, the former Republican chair, voting to restrict and take away citizens' rights to speak at the city council meeting. Then there was Ken Smith, he's in a large seat, and Al Ahern, which I think is in ward number 4, if I'm correct. So Al Ahern, Gary Chesney, Tommy Pettigo, and Ken Smith all voted to remove the non-agenda items off of there. You can't speak on those now. So, as I said, they meet on the first and third Tuesday of each month at 5 p.m. That's when the city council meetings are. You can't speak on unless it's on the agenda now. So you have to be there at 4 o'clock. So the next day in the newspaper, this is what was reported by the newspaper here in town. Chesney referred to the fact that the city administrator, Tony Cox, had talked to the government officials in other cities and received recommendations from the Tennessee Municipal League with regards to the proposed agenda change. Now, remember, I was told by the mayor that I needed to do my own research. Okay. I did. So we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit more in a few minutes because I'm going to show you some things. So, as I said, politicians, let them talk long enough, they'll tell you what they're up to. When discussing the citizens' comments on the non-agenda items at the work session being recorded, Al Ahern said, if there is in fact an issue, if not, it's just rhetorical comments. You know, they don't mind listening to somebody, but they don't want to hear rhetoric. You know, that's what Al Ahern said. Okay. That was what he was quoted as saying in the newspaper. You got to take that with a grain of salt. You know how the news media is. Cox addressed the rhetorical comments, a familiar occurrence at these following Morristown or Hamilton County government proceedings, the Tribune reported. Cox said, prior to coming to Morristown, his practice was when someone come to the podium in the council meetings and had a concern, he would draft a letter within the following week indicating, here is the status of your concern. You're worried about a stop sign in this intersection. Here's where we're going. Here's what we're going to do. And here's the process moving forward. Cox said, when I come to Morristown, I found that people at the podium rarely were coming to with things that were of that nature. Where I have a concern about a stop sign or animals in the neighborhood or those sort of things. It was much more a political statement and sort of posturing. And he dropped that practice. He wasn't going to respond to people that had concerns that he didn't seem that he didn't deem that needed a response from him. So maybe where he come from before, they had a better city council and people didn't have to get up and make those comments. Something to think about, Mr. Cox and the city council. So Senator brought up how the city of Farragut conducts their meetings, and she has the inside information. I'll show you that a little bit too. So in the end, Morristown City Council are sick of the citizens coming to the council meetings and complaining. And, I get it. There's people in every community that are retired or whatever. They have the time and the ability to keep up with what's going on in these communities. and they show up and they speak their voice, and working people who have a job, can't get there, got families, raising kids. Most of these other people are grandparents and retired, whatever. So they have time to go. These people don't like these people coming and keeping an eye on them. So that's why they're trying to shut them down. And a lot of places are saying, okay, let's put this on video. Well, they don't want people showing up and then being recorded on video talking about an issue that maybe most citizens don't even have a clue what's going on, and they don't want them to know. So that's why they're trying to move this stuff off camera. Okay. So now, as I said, if you want to speak to city council meetings, has to be on the agenda items. And if you got, somebody's building something in your neighborhood and building a new section or something, and mud washes and it rains and mud washes across the road or anything like that, you're out of luck. You cannot come to the city council and speak on that. It doesn't matter. And you're only able to speak about those things at the work session. And if you got a job, good luck with that. You may not be able to get that. So remember, these people ask the citizens to vote for them, but but they'll go out and ask you to vote for them, but they don't want to hear from you after you vote for them. Shut up, sit down. We don't want to hear from you until the next election. That's the kind of attitude you get. But here in the city of Morristown, I don't know what's going to happen, but we got a city election coming up on May 2nd. Most people don't realize that this stuff goes on. Very few people get the newspaper. The newspaper made one article about it, never printed anything that I'm aware of until after it was passed and the changes were made. And it was going to be the same way with the county commission meetings until somebody showed up and spoke and sent some emails, and we're going to see how that happens. But I don't think it's going to be nothing like what happens at the city. So I was going to tell you, as I said, I was told to do my own research, do a little bit of research instead of being manipulated by these angrier people. So I want to share my screen with you here. And so the Tennessee Municipal League, this is where Tony Cox, the Morristown City Administrator, and this is where Gary Chesney said that he got his advice on how to make these changes. And he said that he talked to other city leaders throughout the state or whatever. So let's look at the Tennessee Municipal League, and let's look at the board members. And we got people from the president of it. President of the board is from Henderson. He's the mayor. The first vice president's from Farragut. He's mayor. Paige Brown, second vice president, mayor of Gallatin. But as you can scroll down through here, we have the first vice president is the mayor of Farragut. And then if you look over here, you have District 2 director, Farragut Town Administrator. So you got the mayor and the Farragut City Administrator on the same board. You scroll on down, you look at some of these people, and then you start to get a kind of a sick feeling in your stomach that, wait a minute, most of these municipalities in these cities are kind of a lot left leaning, excuse me, easy for me to say, leaning. And we look here, we look down here, and we see the Cleveland mayor. Oh, and there's John Cooper, the mayor of Nashville. Oh, and here's India Kincannon, mayor of Knoxville. Little Miss Children at drag queen shows, Christmas drag queen shows, left-leaning liberal. Now, these are the people that your local city governments are going to for the Tennessee Municipal League. These are the type of people that they're supposedly getting their advice from to make changes in your city. And of course, if I scroll down here and I look, one of our own city council members, Kay Center, is the Tennessee Municipal League board chair. She's from the Morristown City Council. Well, ain't that just dandy? So, and then, so that's the Tennessee Municipal League. Well, they also say, well, we also get a lot of our information for the city government, some of the things we do from MTAS. Well, most people read that in the paper. They don't know what the Tennessee Municipal League is. They think that's some smart group of people that these leaders are going out and asking about. And as you can see, it's not. It's the foxes giving the foxes advice on how to guard the hen house. Not good. So if we look at MTAS, it's Municipal Technical Advisory Service, Institute for Public Service, from where? The University of Tennessee. Do I need to explain to anyone what's going on in these universities throughout the country? If you don't think they're liberal, left-leaning, and will give bad advice to these municipalities, you think they care anything about your rights or about the citizens? No, it's all there to protect the local municipal governments. So when you see this, understand that this is where these people are going. And this is where they get the information. They contact these people. So when I was at the county commission a couple of weeks ago, when they was talking about this stuff, oh yeah, I heard one of the the county commissioners talking about getting good advice from CTAS. You know, and sounds pretty good if you don't know what CTAS is. So MTAS is for municipalities. If you look at CTAS, it's County Technical Assistance Service from the University of Tennessee. Are you getting clued in on this now? Are you starting to see how this works? You know, most people think, well, yeah, we got some liberals running the cities, but out in the county now, we got some good, strong conservative people in our county government. Here in Hamilton County, our whole county government is controlled by Republicans. That's what they say they are when they're running. But I can guarantee you this, when it comes to conducting business, no, they don't vote that way. And they don't govern that way. So, as you can see, County Technical Assistance Services, CTAS. So now you know why we seem to be getting more and more and more progressive in the city governments, in the county governments. You see them trying to restrict more rights from people, infringe on property rights and everything else, because all this stuff is bleeding through the universities. And then you have the universities giving advice and assistance to these local governments. So it's becoming more and more easy to understand how we're getting where we're at. So I wanted to show you those. So I just wanted to point out that, okay, Mr. Mayor, I took your advice and I done a little bit of my own research and I didn't like what I found, but I had to share it. I had to share it with people so they understand that when you elected leaders are talking about, oh, we're following the advice from TML or CTAS or MTAS, those folks down there, they gave us some great advice. We're just following advice. Well, you just need to know that when they're telling you that, they're telling you they're getting liberal advice, and this is why we're where we're at. And it makes them sound good. Yeah, we went out and looked into it. We researched it, and this is what we come up with. And this was highly recommended by these groups: MTAS, CTAS, TML, and yet the people's rights are being infringed on. You can't go to the city council meeting now and speak on anything that's not controlled by the agenda. And if you try to speak on something, they will have the police officers haul you out. Seen it. Well, I didn't see it, but it was reported on it in the paper. So with that, I wanted to share it with you, show you what happened, read you the email that I sent. People may say, well, that was a little harsh of an email. I don't play around with these guys. They work for us. You know, you tell a kid, don't touch the stove. Don't touch the stove. You're going to get burnt. They get burnt when they touch the stove. You need to tell the politicians what you're going to do. And if they do it, deliver. And I have every intention to. So this is part of it. Got to get the information to the people. The newspaper, the media, the local radio, they will not report this stuff. The only way that they will report something is if it goes against what they want. If the city council or the county commission or the state government is going against what these liberal organization media outlets want, then they will let you know, and they will attack them and try to make them look bad. But they will not report or put anything negative about the media. I mean, about these government officials who are doing what they want them to do. They don't want to inform you. They don't want you showing up and talking about it. They'll tell you about it after the fact, and then they'll make it look good. Only thing is, they put in here what the city council people said. And it was all about shutting the people up because they was tired of them showing up. And I get it. Some people may show up and they talk about the same thing over and over and over and over. But that's your job. You ran for that spot. You should sit there and listen to them. You know, the max that they have is 3 to 6 minutes to talk about it. I mean, you're drawing a check from the people who pay taxes in that to that government organization. You should sit there and listen to them. They don't want to do that. All they want is your vote. And then sit down and shut up. We don't want to hear it. With that, I'll shut up on this one today. I appreciate you joining me. Share this information and help it get out there. It's just not in my community. This is not just in my city and my county. It is happening all over the state of Tennessee. I've interviewed people. I've talked to people. It's happening. And you better be aware of it, because I keep hearing, don't California my Tennessee. Don't New York my Tennessee. Folks, it's happening. I've met people who have moved here from Pennsylvania, from California, and they're like, we thought things were different here. It hasn't got as bad here yet, but they're trying to do the same things. And I promise you, I am not stretching the truth on that. I talked to some people in Sevierville a few weeks ago at a grassroots summit over there, and they were surprised to see what was going on. So I'm just telling you, you better wake up. You better start paying attention. You better get involved. If you don't, we can't escape to California. Florida is not that far away, but they're going to keep going there. DeSantis and those folks, they're going to be in an assault from the liberals. You've seen what the media's done. You got to stand up, fight for your own territory, your own hometown, your own county, your own state. All right. Thank you. Have a good evening. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you again the next podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.